What's up, everybody? I wanted to talk to you today about the shoulder, specifically the rotator cuff. So the shoulder is the most mobile joint in the body, but because of that, it's the least stable joint that we have. So we have a unique system to really help the shoulder stabilize, and that's the rotator cuff. Your rotator cuff is 4 muscles. You can't really see it from the outside, and a lot of your conventional training in the gym really doesn't strengthen it. Your rotator cuff, it acts dynamically to really stabilize the shoulder. So your shoulder anatomically is the analogy of a golf ball sitting on a golf tee. So the humeral head, or the bone of the arm, where it attaches to your shoulder blade or your scapula, is really unstable because of that analogy. So the golf ball is a lot bigger than the golf tee. So you have a lot of structures, including the labrum and the rotator cuff, to really keep that ball on the tee with movement. Unfortunately, when we get into our upper cross syndrome and our chronic desk population workers, we get into that rounded internal rotated shoulders. That alone can start really weakening your rotator cuff system. Why that's a problem is if your rotator cuff isn't working the way we need it to, you're going to start to get over-dominant activity from your deltoid and your upper trapezius. And the reason that's an issue is because of its line of force on the shoulder joint with movement. So your shoulder, when we go into arm elevation, is going to be a unison of different muscles working together. Now when we have a strong rotator cuff, that rotator cuff really helps keep the ball on the tee. Well, when that starts to get weak, we start to get the deltoid and the trapezius to start getting a lot of unchecked motion, which is going to create a superior driving force of that humeral head in the shoulder joint, or the golf ball rising superiorly on the tee, which can start to compress your subacromial space. So your subacromial space is a very, very small narrowing within your shoulder capsule, shoulder joint, that doesn't have a lot of room for error. So when we have a rounded internal rotated posture with a weak rotator cuff, we start to really create a lot of issues for that space, which can eventually lead to inflammation in that space, leading to your impingement syndromes and even more pathology down the road. So a lot of common signs of rotator cuff impingement is going to be for the ladies when they go to remove or put on one of their bra straps, or washing their hair, reaching in the back seat for your purse or to hand your kid something. You start to get that pinching. Same thing with going arm overhead with your CrossFit, your volleyball players, your throwing athletes. So today I want to really go into the gym and start showing you some different ways to really strengthen the rotator cuff, because once again, it's not conventionally trained when you go to the gym with your barbells and your dumbbells. So let's go out to the gym, start showing you some things you guys can start doing to really tighten up that structure. So like I said, rotator cuff, really want to make sure that our strength is there, and a lot of times the rotator cuff functions in 2 planes where I have external and internal rotation. The movement we're usually more concerned about is going to be the external rotation strength, typically due to our posture and internal rotation. The strength isn't really an issue there, it's really going into the external. So one of my favorite exercises is just a banded external rotation. I have a towel here to kind of act as a buffer to give me about 15 to 30 degrees of abduction. This really does help increase the activity of the muscle itself. So what we're going to do is get a good tension on the band, keeping the elbow pinned against the towel. I'm going to just pivot the arm out as far as I can without my elbow dropping that towel. 8 to 12, 12 to 15 reps is good. You can do a little bit of an isometric hold at the end to really challenge that muscle. Make sure this is in a pain-free range. You can also, using a dumbbell or any kind of object that you have at home, bottle of olive oil, bottle of bleach, what have you, same kind of thing, put that towel down underneath the elbow, and from here, you can do the same pivoting action from a sideline position. Studies show that this is actually a little bit more advantageous than the standing, because we have nothing else engaged except for the shoulder complex. So try those out. So I have Dr. Tyler here with me to help demonstrate some other exercises. So besides the rotator cuff, we really also want to make sure that our shoulder support system is also really working, and that's going to be your mid-back muscles, so your trapezius, middle lower trapezius, and rhomboids. So a lot of rowing activities will be good for this. So what I'm going to have Tyler do is just making sure we're in a neutral cervical spine. He's just going to simply, with a dumbbell in hand, pull his elbow to be parallel with his back. Hold for a second, and then drop back down. Keep going there, Tyler. making sure that we have a good neutral positioning of the spine and that we're not going into excessive shrugging here at the shoulder. From there, we can also bring the arm out to a 45-degree angle to get the different fibers of the trapezius. From there, we can also go into a 90 degrees, same thing, really getting those scapular stability muscles in the middle of the back to start firing a little bit better. One of the best exercises to really start to engage your middle and lower trapezius is what we call the prone Y. So from here, Tyler's is going to go on an angle 45 degrees out, making sure that once again the head's in a neutral position, not overly shrugging at the shoulder, 45 degrees with the scapular plane. 8 to 12, 12 to 15 repetitions will be fine. Try it out. Another great way to get rotator cuff stronger is to build on the endurance. So we like to do a lot of more dynamically challenging exercises to really engage that rotator cuff system. So what we're going to do is, using a little gym ball here, we're going to engage into the wall. We're going to have the palm on the ball here, and we're just going to do circles. And you can mess with the angle and the size of the circles, and you're going to really start to feel the fatigue in that rotator cuff. What you can also do is approach it from a lateral direction to just change the angle of the shoulder to increase the difficulty. Try it out. I hope you guys enjoyed all that information. Like I said, the shoulder is a very, very mobile joint, but because of that, it doesn't have as much stability. So we really got to make sure that the stability system is working and engaged. So using these different strategies that we went over today before your workout will really help make sure that that muscle, that group of muscles, is doing its job so we don't get into shoulder injuries. If you have any questions, please give us a call at the office.